Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry. Hey everybody, we're here in Chicago, okay? We're on episode 62 of the Empowering Industry Podcast, and I'm your host, Charli Matthews, here with my co-host, Bethany Womack.
Hello,
and
it's Kathy.
My mom, Kathy. So we're having a great time in Chicago and just so happy that we can be together in person. So.
Yes. Got to see everyone this weekend. It's been wonderful.
Awesome. Well, when we started the show, we told Kathy to come on and say hi to all of her fans because we know so many people love her from trade shows and want to see her.
Oh, I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for having me and having an awesome podcast.
All right. See you later, Mom.
This is awesome. It's our first time to record together on a show.
Yes.
We're very close to each other.
I think it feels great. It's awesome.
I'm fine. No, it's good. It's good. We're really excited to be here together. We're really excited that you are listening to us. This is odd looking at a screen and not looking at you.
I know, like, where are we?
Yeah. But thanks for being here. Thanks for choosing us. Do us a favor, leave a rating and review, subscribe to the podcast, do all those things so that other people can help find the show and so that you get it every Monday. Even though we're together, it's a normal show. Like every week, we're going to cover social media updates, preview the news from Empowering Pumps and Equipment, and then connect you with an industry influencer. But Charli, me and you, we had the same week. Let's tell everybody what we did.
Yes, so I mentioned we're in Chicago and we were having a blast. So I giggled a little bit because we were talking about like and subscribe. And we actually did some videos this week that said, okay, hey, we're empowering brands. You know, pay attention to our YouTube. And I was like, like and subscribe.
Which again, if anyone knows how to make that happen on YouTube,
you let us know.
Yes,
yeah,
because I can figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we just had a great time together. I mean, being together, yes, we're close in person, but also it was like doing what we like to do, getting these women together for empowering women, but our team was together. Sorry, Vince. I know you're getting prepared for Issa. We did miss you.
Your ears were burning because we were saying nice things about you.
Yes. But we did. We had like some team bonding there and just the stories that we got to hear, and they were remarkable. And, you know, some of them were challenges that these women were having and as being a woman in a male dominated space. And so it was just at moments we were like overwhelmed of wanting to help. And at the other side of it was like, let's celebrate these women. They've done some really amazing things in hard situations. So,
just a note, we are in Chicago, so you might hear some things outside of my window as we're recording. We're at the Airbnb, I'm saying that. But I think one of the highlights was when we were starting the event yesterday. So I had gotten there and we're getting all set up, and I got a text from Mark, who was back at the Airbnb with our boys. He sent me this very sweet text about how Bowen asked where I was, and he told him that Mommy was working to empower women so that they could be successful in the industry. And it just like made me so happy that they were so proud.
I was so proud. Yeah. I was so proud of Mark for sending such a wonderful message. I mean, maybe you shouldn't have read it right at the beginning.
Yes. So I start crying. I go in the bathroom. Some other woman tells me her story about why like empowering women in the industry is important to her and all these things. And she's crying, and it's, 30 minutes before we're supposed to start, and both of us are just crying. And
you reset. You did it. She was fine. She was like, okay, I felt that. And we were doing important work. Yes. I mean, you are. Yes. You are empowering women. You empower me all the time. She took so many amazing photographs. What was it? Like 2,000 plus?
Too many. But I will say, like, it was so nice just being able to be with our team and like give you a hug and Becca a hug and see people. And so I will say to everyone listening who, might be on the fence about getting back out there, going to WEFTech and these events, you have to do what you feel comfortable with. And I think these different events are implementing ways that you can say, like, I'm comfortable hugging or not hugging or touching or whatever. Yeah. But, And
let us know. Yeah, let us know. Yeah. We'll respect that. But it was so nice to get a real hug.
There were moments that were difficult for me. I found out that my reentry is harder than I was expecting it to be. But it's so worth it to just see people again. And I just feel so refueled. So I highly encourage all of you to at least come to WEFTech. The next events, I know Issa's coming up in a week.
Yeah, well,
this week as you're listening.
I was gonna say, like, you've got to be prepared. So maybe we should talk about this on the podcast.
Yes,
or y'all should.
It's fine. Yeah, we can chat now. I don't care. We're here.
It's about that preparing for getting back in there. You've got to kind of know, like, you're not going to know that, like, sounds bother you or we were this close taking pictures, right? I'm like, that's kind of weird to be this close to you.
For me, it was just like lots of people talking all at the same time. I hadn't been used to, because even on a Zoom, you're polite and you wait. It's your turn. And I was like, y'all, what's happening? I don't know. And Charlie's like, you're fine. It's okay.
Yeah, we did great. Everybody did great. Yeah, we can't wait to share all of that with the industry. I mean, I really can't wait to see some of the stories. So
yes. Okay. So we've chatted tons. I'd love to talk more about it. Just let me know. I'm sure I'll call you and tell you how fun our week was.
You'll see it. I mean, go to our channels we posted. So if you want to see it, you can see some of the pictures on all the social media channels.
So let's just go ahead and get social. Yeah. This is where we're going to tell you something that we've read, we saw, something you need to know in social media. And this week it's straight from Charli herself. So
yeah, and so you're invited, to our virtual meetups, which is going to be July the 14th. It's a Wednesday, every second Wednesday at 11 Central Time. And then an Empowering Brands is going to be Tuesday, July the 20th, every third Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time.
These are regular events. We love seeing the same people that come, and we also love to add new people. If you haven't been on one, it's a really nice chance to reconnect with people in the industry. You do need to register before you come. So if you follow the links, you click on it and you'll be sent the Zoom invitation.
And just a note on that, I won't be in those for July. So you're going to have a new leader in the group. So please go and say something to trip them up and, record that. I think you should record them while I'm out, just so I can.
So I was leading the last Empowering Women one, and I forgot to hit record.
That's okay.
Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Or subconscious. But so I'm leading the Empowering Women one. So come on and be nice to me.
Yes, be nice to them. Yes. I was just joking about being mean. Yeah. They're wonderful, and they're important to continue. So let's continue to get social via Zoom. Pre-register, like we said, and get connected with us at Empowering Pumps or using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast.
We do want to give a few shout outs to people this week. And there was, really our entire group of women that came yesterday to our photo shoot for Empowering Women. Thank you for sharing your time and just your energy and your stories. It really impacted us, and we think it will impact a lot of people. But a couple of people were sharing stuff on social media yesterday and tagging us. And one of them was Kaylee.
Yes.
She's the founder, CEO, a satellite engineer, but founder and CEO of a magazine that's the first magazine founded by a woman in STEM for women in STEM. And so it's
wonderful. And I just can't. So we want to connect you with all these women. And the best way is to follow our channel. So we talked about Empowering Pumps, but also follow Empowering Women in Industry on Instagram, because you're going to see so many conversations and things there. And these women, they're supporting women in STEM, women in the trades women. Kaylin, came and she had all the energy this week. Yes. So we're really excited for her to be a part of that and bring in those trades women. And it was just great. Okay. We're going to continue to talk about that over and over.
Send us, that's basically this episode, but send us more shout outs so we can keep shouting you out on the show. But today, our main thing we want to talk about for social media, last week we mentioned that Charli has been in business for 10 years.
Celebrate.
And to celebrate, she wrote a blog. And so I just wanted to pick her brain about the lessons that she's learned for the past 10 years.
Yeah, so I wrote that 10 years lessons, because it's like, you can celebrate that, but what did you actually do, right? So I'm like, what did I do? This is what I learned. So as I look back over the last 10 years, I just have such gratitude for the journey. There were some huge celebrations, we love to celebrate. There's also some disappointments, and those lessons that I learned from both of those are really what's important. So I wrote a blog with bullet points for you, Bethany.
Thank you.
And so we're going to start with leadership. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be the leader. You can't really pass that off to somebody else. You have to have the vision, and you have to be able to share that with your team. And so I think that is the hardest part for me, is to constantly kind of keep myself having the vision and passing that along. But I'm an activator. And so I like to get things started and then, pass it off to other people to finish. But you can't really do that when you own the business and you're the entrepreneur. Like, you have to be like included in that. So it takes that individual deciding that they are going to do the work. And I've actually found out that sometimes when I do try to pass off too much, that I'm not being productive and I'm not growing. So
yeah. It's funny because I've been on the receiving end of lots of Charli's activation and
do this now, please.
And it is true though. She has to decide, we all have different things that motivate us, and some things motivate me more than others. And I think she would be the first to tell you she can very quickly tell when I'm not motivated to do a task.
Yes.
But the podcast I'm here for. So
yes, thank goodness that she has the passion for the podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
So Charli's second lesson was about passion, that you really have to find a way to find what you're passionate about and keep pursuing that. And that might mean that you have to adapt your business to what you're passionate about. Because if you're doing something and you're working in your business and that's not where you feel led to be, you're going to have burnout so quick, and you're going to tire out so quickly. And so
you can't do it. You can, but you're not going to like it.
And you have to find the way where that aligns with where the money comes in, right? Because if you're just focusing, if the money's coming in, but that's a cash flow route that's just not enjoyable to you, it's not sustainable for the long run.
That's right. And you have to be able to I don't know, in sales, for example, you can't sell something that you don't believe in, that you're not passionate about. It comes across and people really, they know it. So our team is great. Okay. We have so many different things that we can do. And I kind of rely on them to tell me, do you like working on this? Do you not? And so sometimes that'll get you into trouble because, all things are not fun. But, they do have the kind of, the team aspect where each one of us has a significant contribution to what we're doing, right? They're making an impact in our business, and I want them to be able to enjoy that. And so anyway, that's one of my favorite things that I do. I can't look at Bethany, I'll cry. Okay. So,
well, and when I read this, when you wrote about team, in my mind, it was, the people on our team now, but it was also all of the people that have been on the team from
10 years.
From your sister-in-law helping you set up a trade booth, which is how I met you, to Vince, the latest new hire.
That's right. There's so many people. Yeah. There's a lot of my family that help, right? So I've got my Megan too. She used to be so great about doing our social media posts. And I just, look back at all this and I'm like, how did I get here? Right? 10 years. And it's my team. The team helped me. So.
And through the team, you have growth, which is her next lesson that she learned, that, moving forward and progressing is really essential to making your business continue to grow. We saw that this last year with COVID. If we had done the exact same thing we've been doing, we wouldn't be as successful as we adapted. And so growth is essential to moving forward and keeping your business moving forward. And when you get complacent and you think you're in a place where you don't have to grow anymore or learn anything else, that's when you're going to start sliding backwards and losing market share, and your business isn't going to be as successful.
Yeah, and I don't think you can stay kind of passionate and motivated either when you're standing still, because you see other people innovating, and that is one thing that I missed during kind of this pandemic is being around people, and that innovative growth strategy is just, it fuels me. So I really like that. Well, let's talk about the hard stuff though. Okay. So running a company, a mom of 3 when I started, Carly was 9 months old. So it's really little kids. Okay.
I think about you so much as I'm, Jack just turned 6 months old and I'm holding him and feeding him. And I think about you all the time. And I tell myself, Charli started a company right now.
You can do hard things, right?
I can do hard things. Yeah. That's what I say. Yeah.
Okay. So that was hard. I do believe though that my kids are very independent. They know how to work hard. They know that I'm working hard for them and to change the world to make it a better place for them. Darn it, I'm gonna cry. Okay.
They do. They do.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
So the other thing though that I think is really important is that there are lessons that you learn about let's just call it unjust or unfairness.
Societal structure that they put on families.
Yeah. And so when we were both in the thick of it, me and Carter, both in our businesses, I would, not know what to do when one of the kids were sick, because there was this stress of, okay, you have to take care of them. Even from so it's from the company. The company they work for would actually call and be like, where's Charli? why can't she pick them up, or why can't she be there? And I'm like, well, Charlie's actually in Chicago, or something else, that made it really difficult for me and our family unit to do that, run those two businesses, our careers, without conflict. It's conflict that we weren't putting on ourselves, but the just society was basically putting that on us.
And maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but maybe that's the kernel that started empowering women for you. That's the struggle that you had to go through to build this business. You may or may not hear my kid crying in the background at some point, but
that's, you just gotta go with it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in Chicago all together. I got to meet baby Jack, which we didn't even talk about in the intro. Oh my gosh! But I thought I rocked him to sleep, but I didn't. Okay, but I did want to say one thing.
Yes.
The thing for me was when I started the company, I went to the bank because I needed money. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had to actually take money out of my 401k to kind of jumpstart us, because the bank that I was banking at said, we don't really do entrepreneurship here. And then the other bank that I went to was
thank you.
Yeah. I'm like, can I just take my money out of here? Because that doesn't make sense to me. I get it now, as you learn, there's different banks that have different things. But the big part of that was the next bank was like, you actually have to have your husband come and sign this, because we need husbands to know what you're doing. And I'm like, does that still happen? We are in Alabama, but but I was shocked. I'm shocked at these things. I'm shocked in today's society that this still happens. And so that was 10 years ago. Yeah. So we'll give you that. We have moved. But I do believe that this is the struggles, and these are real things that happen to me, lessons along the way that I know that this is hard for other women. So I could go on and on about that, but we won't stay there. If you have any questions about running a business though, you can ask me and I'll tell you straight up things I went through.
I think the moral of that lesson is there were hard times. And so I tell Charli all the time, and I know she really wants to be authentic with you, and that it's real and that it's hard, but that you've grown from it, you've learned from it, and you're sharing these lessons.
And I have a bank that
is better. Got a new bank.
She is a woman that manages my account. I'm just saying, very supportive, empowering people. So that's who you need to have in your life.
Yes. The next lesson was to just be present, which I think is a very important lesson to take for life in general, not just business. And you talk about in your blog that you wrote that when Becca started or joined the team, she really kind of made you do this. And I say that in a made you kind of way, but
it is. She prompted us to do this.
And so, where you have a call that's just blocked off for Becca every week, so you can really intentionally talk with her about how the company's going and how she's grown. And I really think maybe that call has just set Becca up for a lot of growth in the company too, because absolutely. She's taken on a whole new role and a lot of new responsibilities. And
well, she would ask me, something she wasn't certain about, and she had my full attention. And so we set that up right when she started, and it gave me the piece to pass things off for one, because I know that she would kind of let me know what was going on, and if she needed help, she would, ask me, and she knew that I was there for her. And it was by far the best thing we do. We have a weekly call where we just get to talk.
So being present, 100% important. Find a way to be present as much as possible in all of your life. So if you're home, be present with your family. If you're talking to people on your team, be present and be listening to what they're saying. If you're doing a podcast, be here and be listening to the podcast to be present with our listeners.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. You can multitask. Go ahead and, put on the laundry while you're listening to the podcast is fine. Okay. So the next book, I guess, is entrepreneurship. And I kind of framed it as that because I didn't really know what entrepreneurship was. I did small business in college, and I didn't, anyway, but that's not the hard part. The cash flow, the credit lines, and what you call yourself as far as a business, that's not hard. It's believing in yourself, which is what is hardest. So I just recommend that you find something that you really care about and are passionate about, we talked about, but also get a cheerleader, somebody that you can call on and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or if you just wanted to be like, hey, and they're like, you're awesome. What are you doing today? I know you're awesome. And so you definitely need somebody like that. We have a lot of people like that now on our team and on our community. And so we would absolutely like to be that for you. So I say you need a cheerleader, a side of grit, and a list of all the things that make you uniquely you. And you got it. You can do it.
And I would say a cheerleader is different than a yes man. Like a cheerleader is not going to cheer on your very poor ideas that would bankrupt you or something, but they're going to say like, I know that you have it inside of you to do this.
You make great decisions.
Yes.
So you're going to be able to figure this out.
Because you have great vision, which was your next tip. So, or the next lesson that you learned, the person leading the company, they have to have a clear vision of what they want and where the company's going to go. I think you've all probably been in situations where you've had a leader maybe that didn't have a vision, and it's not productive. The people underneath you aren't going to know what to do or know how to successfully do their job if you can't tell them what the goal is at the end.
Yes. So speaking of telling people stuff, you also have to find your voice. That was one of, I guess, my favorites because I had to find my voice. A lot of the times we're sharing things that aren't, specific to what our view is, right? We're sharing technical knowledge and things like that, but we also have to stand for something, and you have to be able to share your personal values as that business owner. You also have to bring that to your company, right? The company culture is part of your voice, and
100%.
I love being able to do that. Constantly working to please others and not yourself is a recipe for disaster. So you better know what you stand for. So, yeah.
Okay. So the last lesson learned, checking in on the video again to make sure we're still here and we look okay.
For celebrations. Yeah.
Number 10 is to celebrate. So don't forget to celebrate along the way. And that's, the big things, but then that's also the stories and things you accomplish in the people that are around you. So, sharing your story, we probably say that every podcast.
Gotta do it.
It's so important, and it leads to celebrations, and it's just to remember that, nothing's perfect, but there are wins along the way that you can 100% celebrate.
Oh, yes. So we celebrate all the small wins around here. It's so important to be able to just say, good job, way to go, pat yourself on the back. I mean, you know that because we're celebrating my 10-year again. Okay, let's go ahead.
And it's going to happen again in August when Empowering Pumps, the launch of Empowering Pumps comes up again at 10 years, and we're going to do a bigger party then. So
it's
just
a birthday. It's a birthday.
Be ready is what I'm saying.
That's right. I can't wait. So I guess just what I've learned over those 10 years is, the most important thing is to have people around you that can celebrate with you and that can prompt you to be your best self. So,
yes.
Yeah. And we're here for you. So if you're trying to do this, reach out to us.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So we are going to move into the news today. This is where we're going to preview some news that's coming out on the Empowering Pumps and Equipment newsletter this week. That's a bi-weekly newsletter, comes to your inbox 2 times a week, where you get previews of really good news stories that are happening in the industry. Reminder to nominate someone for Person of the Week. We want to feature awesome people in the industry, and to do that, we need your help in finding them. So send us their name, their email. We'll reach out to them and send them our questions so we can feature them here and in our newsletter.
Yes, and I want to start with a news item. Dynamatic is an educational series on YouTube right now, and I think it's cool. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention.
She's running the company. She's leading the company, and then she relies on the newsletter to know interesting things happening in the industry.
Yes. Okay. So Dynamatic's educational series on YouTube, it has a new video each week and each month. Thank you.
Sorry. I didn't want to overhype it.
Yes. Okay. I was excited, I'm like, is it? Okay. So
I love it.
Every month you can go on there and they're going to talk about things related to eddy current drives, brakes, clutches, controls for municipal markets. This is led by DSI, Dynamatic employees, and their manufacturing reps. They focus on maintenance, retrofitting, which is really cool. And the first video is retrofitting a motor pump. I don't know. I always want to say pump motor. So y'all tell me if that's correct. But retrofitting a motor pump with eddy current drives. And that's led by sales engineer Jennifer. And I forgot how his name last.
Ludlow.
Yes, that's right. And a manufacturer's rep, Michael Kogan. So thank you so much, Dynamatic, which is an awesome partner of ours. And I look forward to watching those videos, actually.
Yeah, and there's multiple videos. The link's in the show notes, so you can catch all of that. But anytime we see content where people can learn things on a regular basis, I think is a great resource for you in the industry. So that's why we wanted to share it. I'm sharing a white paper. Smart technology can greatly increase energy efficiency, and it comes to us from ABB. So the thesis here is that it's projected by the year 2050 that 68% of the world's population will live in cities. And you spend a whole lot of time of your life in a city, in a building, which means that right now is really a good time that we start looking at how we design and operate buildings to make them more energy efficient, to plan for 2050. Because currently buildings are responsible for over 30% of global energy consumption. So in the white paper, you'll cover topics like smarter building management, more efficient equipment control, whole system thinking, and basically, how everything works together. And then looking at the digital future as we're moving more and more digital, you're seeing how technology links together. We talked about IoT a lot, but how specifically you can link buildings and machines and how everything runs in buildings together. But it's a really interesting white paper, and I think something important to think about moving forward.
Yeah, and it made me think this week is ESA and it's happening, and I'm really excited because this is ABB, right? They're one of our partners as well.
Yeah.
But they are solving these issues from motors, drives, and all of the technology there. So this is just a great week. We planned that out, I think, where that was in the news.
That was you. That was definitely all you.
I just forgot because I've been busy. Okay, what else do we have?
On to our industry interview. Charli has been working overtime, let me tell you, so that even when she's out, we're going to have a Charli industry interview for you every week till she's back. But this week we have a really good person. Why don't you go for it?
I loved this person, okay? It's Matt Guse, and he is the president of M.R.S. Yes, M.R.S.
I love it.
Machining Co. He and his wife own the company, and it's actually his father who started the company in 1986 in his garage, which I love.
So
that
cool.
story.
I bet he has some lessons of entrepreneurship. He could have shared with us as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's been in the industry for over 30 years, and now he's giving back to young professionals, helping them, teaching them, training them. So it's all in the interview, and I'm telling you, you want to listen to this one.
Awesome. Well, let's get
there.
Let's get there. So without further delay, here's your interview.
Hey, Matt, welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm really excited to be able to share your story. We kind of just met, so I'm getting to know you as well. So, Matt, just go ahead and, tell our audience kind of who you are and what you do.
Well, hello, my name's Matt Guse, and I'm with M.R.S. Machining Company, and I've been in the machining industry / manufacturing industry for over 35 years, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to tell my story, how I got into it and where we're at today and where we're going.
Yeah, well, let's jump in there. I'm really excited for people to know a little bit more too. So the name of the company there is M.R.S. Machining. So tell me how you got into the place to where you're running this company.
So I'm like anybody else. I have, well, not everybody else, but I came from a farming community, and we raised beef cows, and my dad was a machinist in the second shift. We ended up selling the farm and moving to town. So I took a job at the machine shop he worked at, just sweeping the floors and wiping down machines, and I just kind of watched things develop. And one summer, my junior year in high school, I got asked to run a horizontal machining center, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try it, and I really enjoyed it. And so throughout that year, I kept coming in during the whole summer running it. And then while I was still going to school my senior year, I said, hey, I think this is something I want to do. So my boss at that time said, hey, I think you got the talent and gift to do this. I'm going to sign you up for school. I'm going to pay for it. I'm like, oh, well, he ended up getting killed.
Exactly.
Yeah, any high school kid, free college education is sure. But anyways, he got killed in a car accident, unfortunately. And the family came and closed the doors. So my dad was friends with the customers. So literally they told us we had to get out like in 2 hours. So my dad took a lot of the expensive material and put it in his garage. And then they asked my dad, hey, can you machine this? And my dad said, geez, I'll give it a shot. And like I say, to this day, I have no idea how he did that as precise as he did.
Okay, so just to back up a minute, you were kind of promised this. I'm going to go to college on somebody else's dime, and then the person dies, and then you kind of have to figure out what you're going to do at that point. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. So it went from a free education to me now paying for my education.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that I'll get into here a little later, was why I love working with kids in high school on how we can get their school 100% paid for by the school we got developed over in Levi Strum called Cardinal Manufacturing. But anyways, yeah, so from there, I ended up going to tech college, and I'm like any other kid, your hometown, there's nothing for you. You want to leave, try exploring career opportunities or just life, meet different people. And that's when I was going to school that summer, I ended up meeting my wife, and she's about 2 hours north of here. So when I got done with school, college, I moved up there. Well, what happened the next 2 years is I kept coming home every weekend. So I was working full time, 50 hours up there, and I came home on the weekends and worked here. And
It was exhausting.
yeah, real exhausting. So the day I got married, my dad came to the wedding and told me, when you're getting married, you're going to start working for me full time. Well, that was in July. And I said, no, Dad, I'm happy. I love it up here. It's in the wilderness. I get, there's no traffic, no people. That's just me. Well, 6 months later, I ended up coming working for him full time. So we were just in his garage, and just me, him, and Sharon, which everybody thought M.R.S. stood for Matt, Roger, and Sharon. And that's not the case. It was actually it's a woman-owned business, and my dad set it up that way because he thought government contracts was a way to go. At first,
I did that too. I remember starting my company and being like, "Oh, you can get like grants and stuff for being a woman-owned business." So I'm like, "Well, I want more shares or more ownership than my husband, just to make that, just in case, right?" So I totally understand that.
Yeah, so that's where the M.R.S. came from. So they just wanted to stick out and say, "Hey, Mrs., that's a woman-owned." It just kind of one of those
I
things.
love it. Marketing.
Yeah, so to this day, it's still woman-owned. Actually, my wife Vicki is 51% shareholder, and I'm the 49%. So yeah, I get two bosses, one at home and one here.
That's right. Well, does she like working in the business as well?
Yeah, she doesn't work here really full time. She fortunate. That was one thing that if I ever take anything away from M.R.S., when we had kids, she got to stay home and be the at home mom, and I just worked a little extra harder. And I'm so very blessed for that, because I think it really helps kids when their parents are there to watch after them instead of throwing them in daycare. And actually,
Absolutely. I think that's the like figuring out who's going to take care of the kids to have a family, and having that conversation is absolutely necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing we kick around here now is, where the skilled shortage and everything's going. If we can just do something extra, so I'm talking about maybe we should start our own daycare up here. So that would be something our employees don't have to worry about. You got to remember, I got a very young workforce, and there's benefits and there's not so good benefits. The first benefit is that they're young and talented, but they also get married and have babies. So that's another issue, but that's a good problem to have.
Well, let's back up a little bit and talk about machining and what that is. We got into it a little bit, but I mean, you were kind of thrown into that as a young person too. Like, can you do this? Yeah, I can do this. But what is that, for our, manufacturing industry? What is machining, and what is the relevance there?
Machining is actually defab. There's fab, like welding is fabrication, but machining is more defab, where you're taking away metal from to deform a size. And anything you touch these days is got some kind of machining behind it. I mean, a bottle, or iPhone, a car, or truck, anything. There's something, somebody somewhere along the line had to machine a part to make that functionable. And people start thinking that when you start pointing out molds, all plastic molds are made from molds. That's metal. Cars, engines, that's all machined. And we do a lot of parts for pumps.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about the pump parts. I mean, that's what I know, right? Is going through, walking through a plant and seeing that. So what kind of pump parts is it?
We do a lot of diffusers, impellers, and shafts and wear plates. That's a fun. We do them for quite a few pump manufacturers. It ain't and I don't have anyone in my business over 20% or industry. Just try to keep diversified. But a lot of stuff we do is the stuff that's really unique and difficult and complex. So that's the kind of.
Impellers is a critical part of the pump process. If for people that don't know that,
Yep.
it's what we talk about when we're trying to figure out what's the best curve to be on, et cetera. So all kinds of. I just interviewed somebody about coatings, and they were talking about whether or not the impeller needed to be trimmed for coatings. I mean, it's just all kinds of things like that we get to learn about here, which is amazing. But I am interested in hearing about what you said. Kind of your workforce is younger and what you're trying to do. Kind of in this, you start at schools, right? To kind of recruit these young people.
Yeah. So back in 2000, I could just see people weren't coming to trade, so I knew I had to do something. So we tried starting our own school here at M.R.S. And well, where do you find people? And I wanted to find the people that weren't in the trade. So I kind of went out to all these fast food restaurants and recruited them people and got them in here. And I had about 6 of them come in, and within 6 months they're all gone. And I'm like, man, what did they do here? We sat them down, and it wasn't nothing we really did wrong. It was just maybe a better screening process to see if they really had the attitude and mentitude to do it. And I kind of failed there. But one day I was riding to a baseball game with one of my salesmen who brought one of his friends along who he made parts for the bottle filling, and he had his kid part-time, and his name was Craig Krowski, and said, hey, you got to meet this guy. He's real energetic. He's got this great plan for his school. Well, I'm all ears now because I just failed really bad at our school. And so we actually went down to Chicago at a show called IMTS, and we met up. And within a minute, I met this guy. He gave me goosebumps. This guy has got to be part of my plan. It's got to be on our team, got to be involved somehow. I didn't know how at the time, and he didn't really know how, but I just knew he was going to be a tech ed teacher in a high school. So I told him that when he got his teaching job, let me know. Well, 6 months later, Craig calls me and said, hey, I got a job over here at Leverstrom. And can I come over and talk? So Craig came over and talked, and kind of had the plan developed. It's really a job shop set up in a high school. And my dad always said one hand's for giving and one hand's for receiving. Well, my dad got the cart in front of the horse there a little bit one day. He started giving them equipment and stuff. And I go, Dad, it's just starting. Hold on here. We got to give it a year or two. So Craig got it cleaned up, got the kids involved. And I just jumped on his bandwagon. And all of a sudden, when I started, these kids were interested and eager to learn and listened and were motivated. And it just man, it just started to become my passion.
Because you've seen where you went out into just other industries and they weren't quite as passionate or willing to work in this space. So now you kind of go into the school or create a school, and you're pulling people who are interested in this type of work and then helping them grow.
Yes. And it's not all me, now there's all these industries that are involved, and Craig's got all these tool and cutting manufacturers and wealthy people that went to the school, and it feeds itself now. And, the great thing about the program, it gives the school revenue, gives the program a revenue, but here's the best part of the whole deal is that the kids get paid to go to school, get paid to make stuff. It's like a job, but they're going to school and getting an education. And then with all these scholarships, there's so much money out there for scholarships. I'm just amazed at how some kids it takes 5 minutes to fill out an application. They don't do it. But so anybody that goes into manufacturing, welding, or machining, pretty much their school is 100% paid for. So when they go to a 2-year tech college, they're done. They come from work for me or come work for whoever. They have no debt. They're 21 years old, no debt, have a 2-year degree, and they're making a decent wage with full benefits. I mean,
yeah, and they're definitely hireable because that's what people are looking for. And like you said earlier, the shortage, right? We have that shortage for workers. So we saw a problem. You saw it before as well, which we always have, that need for skilled workers. But do you feel like it's more so now? You're seeing an increase in the need for that?
Yeah. So, the first thing we teach there is soft skills. We don't teach them really, how to machine or how to weld. They do get that, but we teach them soft skills, because without soft skills, you can't be successful in anything. You got to show up for work. You got to play together. You got to be team players. And I always tell people, if they get an application, they went to Leverstrom High School through carton manufacturing, the next words out of their mouths should be, when can you start? And I truly say that. Kids these days want attention. And, they all grew up on iPhones, and you have to be involved in social media in some way. You have to stay in touch with them. You have to give them attention. You have to be a leader to them. Like everybody's looking for sports heroes, and some of them ain't the greatest, best examples. So I want to be that sports hero person with people they can look up to me. And if they go into manufacturing, great. But if they don't, that's fine, because they can always fall back on it. And then at least that's one thing they know they don't want to do. So they don't go to school, waste a bunch of money, and then end up with a big debt at the end of the day. So,
and no matter what, right? No matter what they do, they can always fall back on that. And even like life skills, like at home, right? Like you're going to learn so much about that technical or tactical side that's going to help you with everything from hanging the, television on the wall or whatever. It just, you're used to handling things with your hands, which I think is really a much needed skill as somebody who, has that problem hanging things on the wall, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And, these skills carry on. The life learning skills is really what they are. But,
sure.
It's really enjoyable for me. My wife, when I always go over there and I come home, my wife says, you should go over there like every day because you're so much happier. Of course,
you're fired up.
Yeah. The last year it wasn't so good with COVID. You got kind of locked out of the schools. But, I took, you take it another step too. So you got one school, and that ain't, you got to work with all the schools in your community. And people, it's easy to come up with excuses. I always say, don't come to me with excuse, come to me with solution. So, people say, well, how can I develop one in my community? Well, first of all, the number one thing you got to do is leave your building. You just can't sit back and pick up phones and emails. That ain't going to work. Then you got to go to their building. So go to the high school, reach out to them. You should know the superintendent, the principal, and the guidance counselor in all your schools in the area on first name basis, and they should know you. If that's how,
So you're talking to the manufacturers right now, the people who are out there, our manufacturers who are looking to employ people. You need to get involved with these schools.
Yes.
Okay. And, the other thing about that, I guess, if you're just trying to get started and you want to get in touch with people, you're kind of giving them that baseline of who they need to reach out to. But what else can they do to kind of really plug in at a school?
The first thing we started having a workshop at school. So 3 times a year, we bring industry partners, schools in, and we sit down and we go through a whole day. We get to meet the students. You get to see the program in action. You get to have a template, do this in day 1, do this in day 2. So you can actually get taught how to build your own program. It's nice to see someone else doing it and seeing how it's working, because then it's a lot easier it's kind of like copying the answers off a test when you're taking it in school. And that's really what it boils down to.
We've already done the work. Here you go.
Here you go. But, it takes the right kind of teacher in the school, and it takes the right kind of motivational person, because, we all don't have a lot of time. We're all short-staffed. We're all wearing about 10 hats in all our companies, and we just don't have time. But you really just got to dedicate it. I always say it's like brushing your teeth, make it a habit. How do you build a good culture? The first thing I do every morning, first and second shift, because we run 2 shifts here, I grab the coffee pot, or I'll grab a bottle of water. I'll just walk the floor. I'll talk to everybody, because, you got to hear the problems before they start. It's just like if you see that seed being planted of some negativity or a problem or issue, you got to get on it right away. Otherwise, the next thing you know, it's a cancer through your whole shop or your whole business. And that's why I do that. I just do it every day as best as I can. It's good or bad. Sometimes you hear things you don't want to hear, and sometimes you want to hear things you want to hear. So just build that culture that way.
Yeah, and I think it also helps people to kind of trust you, that you have the best interest of the company at heart, because you're there with them and just getting to know them and seeing what they do every day. I think that's a really important part. When the boss kind of separates themselves and doesn't really know what it's like, then that's another reason why issues could come up. Just that culture and company culture of that walk around mentality is just so strong. We were just talking about that a couple of weeks on the podcast about leadership, and the same thing is people will remember you years and years later that's what kind of leader you were. It makes a huge difference. So now that you have kind of this network of people at the schools that you can bring into your workforce, is there a need there? Like, what are you looking for now as far as growing your own company?
Like everybody else, you can't grow without people. I always say there's the 3 P's: it's product, process, and most importantly, people. Without, you take out one of them, it's hard to succeed. But no, we're like everybody else looking to find people and trying to recruit people. And you got to recruit people now, you got to do something unique, because you remember like the Depression back in the 30s when no one could find jobs, and you really had to, if you're trying to find a job, and you had to sell yourself to that employer. Now the roles are reversed. You got an applicant coming into your building. You have to sell yourself to make sure that particular person wants to join your team. So you have to really be creative in doing things. And, just something simple like we put a freezer out in our shop floor, and we fill it full of ice cream and icy treats. And we do that every day, and they can come and go, and just that little something, just
a little happy. Yeah, just a little happy for sure.
Yep.
So we talked a little bit about this, but just, being MRS and, attracting women into manufacturing, is that part of your message that goes out today?
Yes, I love women in the manufacturing, and people are like, why would you want that? Well, I'm going to tell you, what do women do? They comb their hair, they put makeup on, and they want to look pretty. And so they got that. That's what it takes the machine to make things, is that they're really particular to detail. But like most women, it's intriguing to go into a shop and a bunch of men and try to work in front of them. And so the more women you start flooding that, the better it is. The blend is better. We have probably about 8 or 9 women working here, and it really works well. But like I say, women are.
So just to understand a little bit, you're saying basically because women are kind of want to be pretty in the workforce, right? And they show up, they stand out. And if there's more of them, it kind of makes it not so shocking that there's the woman who is in manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I can see where it can be over. I mean, kind of if you're a woman and I'm all these guys, I have a husband,
That's right. It is intimidating. There's a lot of factors that go into that on both sides, right? I think probably even for the men there who are working, what do we do with this woman who's walking in here, right? Like, and trying to adapt to that. And so training and just, making it part of manufacturing as a whole, that does take some of that kind of old school mentality about, this is the woman's job, this is the man's job. And like you were saying earlier about childcare, that's both a problem for the man and the woman. You just have to decide who's doing the work, who's doing the childcare, or if you are going to kind of have daycare or something like that for people who work. But it's interesting. It's hard. I would think it's hard to recruit women into that environment. Have you found that?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just like trying to get people in the manufacturing general is hard. Now you try to get women involved in it. It makes it a little bit harder, but there's interest there. You just have to lay out. You just have to be, like I say, you just have to stay on top of them, especially young kids. They want to be appreciated. They want to be involved. So all the young kids I have here, their input is very valuable. So I always want them telling me things, because they're in the trenches every day. And that's, actually, women are.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So young kids, you're talking about like Gen Zs or something, like what do they want out of work?
They want to feel important. They want to be involved. They seem like if you hire one of them, you get about 3 or 4 right behind it, because they're kind of together. They don't. I mean, the ones that work for me do buy homes and cars, but a lot of them I see that want to get an apartment together and don't want to own a home. They just want to be able to do what they want when they want and go whenever they want. They don't really want that responsibility. But once
it's more just like team or group of kids together kind of thing. I'm just thinking about my kids. They're 10, 13, and 16. And my 13 and 16, they're boys, but they want to do something with their friends. Are their friends going to be there? Then I want to be a part of that. So I can totally see that.
Yep. So you got to make your place to work really cool and exciting and have a lot of high positive energy. And I always tell people, I want you to be here and you want to be here. And we're going to make work fun. Even though it's stressful, we have to make it fun, because if it's not, then that kind of starts, the parts you make kind of start to show up. You start missing things and missing dimensions, or, looking at the print wrong, but just make it fun. And that's what work's about. I mean, if you can't make work fun, then we have to either find a place for you and work with you and just
Yeah, otherwise you're just stressed out, basically. If you're not having fun, then you're just stressed. You're overthinking. You're in your head, and it just leads to other bad things, right? So I haven't really thought about that it leads to mistakes when, you're kind of living in that negativity world, but it's true. And, that's a really good point. So just, we've been talking a lot. We kind of, educated little people on machining, which I think is fascinating. I still remember walking through plants, with lean manufacturing and without. So you kind of get the chips and all in your shoes early on. I was just walking through some plants. But, that just depends on where you are and what plant it is. But I've seen, you could eat off some floors as well. So there's just all kinds of different ways that you can be involved in manufacturing as well, which that's really what your niche is, and kind of educating the workforce on what they can do here. Giving them the tools and not giving them debt to figure it out, which I think is also really important. Yeah. So, okay. Just as we've been talking, is there anything else that you kind of had on your mind that you wanted to share with our audience?
Yeah. Like right now, a lot of people are struggling in life, with COVID and money and, business owners. I don't know if there's a lot of them out there, but, one thing I learned out of all the years, there's people out there to help you. I mean, I'm willing to help anybody out there. Just reach out to me. I'll give you advice. Because trust me, owning a business isn't just like once you're a business owner, you're an instant millionaire and you don't work. No, you just work 8 hours a week and that's it. That's not the case. So just hang your head up, find people, reach out, your struggles. And I know people will help you. And that's anything in life. That's just, you all got to work together at it. We can't work against. And so just hang in there, hang your head high, and everything will be just fine.
Yeah, well, you definitely do, put yourself out there as a resource, and we really appreciate that, and appreciate everything you're doing for our younger generation, giving them the resources, but also just drawing attention to, what it is in this manufacturing world. What are we doing here? We're, helping you have your everyday life. I mean, that's basically it, right? Without these different tools and different, the people involved are still part of that community, right? They're not separate from, okay, this is the real world community and these are our workers. It's all of us together working together for a better every day. And so I just thank you for being, advocate for that and coming on here and sharing your story. And I'm really excited for you and kind of what's next to come, and for just manufacturing in general. So thanks again, Matt, for being here.
Yeah, I want to thank you for having me on, and you do a wonderful job. So keep up the good work. And
Thank you.
Okay, we're back. Charli, thanks so much for bringing Matt on the show. He was great. The interview's great. Always wonderful listen.
It's awesome. And, she talked about doing these interviews, and I have been working overtime. I think I'm, through August and September as far as recording. But I get to meet so many amazing people, and this is my favorite part, to be able to interview them and share their story. And I have enjoyed that. So I'm taking a break. This is my last show for a while. Becca's going to come in and sit in for me, and I'm going to take a break. I'm having my heart surgery July the 8th. And then, there's a recovery time. So I gave myself a lot of recovery time. And so what we're going to do during that time is just let, Bethany and Becca and Amber and Vince just run the show. And I'm going to rest. And I'm just thankful for all of you, the listeners, that allow me to talk about this. That's enough about that. Because you're here. When Charli stops talking, it's because she's going to cry.
I don't think I fully processed it. That you're going to be out for so long, especially on the podcast. But I am 100% capable, and the team, y'all, there's sirens. I don't know what this means. I'm 100% confident in the team that you've assembled and our ability to do the work. And I know that all listeners are going to really miss you. And that's why I'm glad the interviews are going to be there. And I can just go back and watch old Charli videos on YouTube.
I am going to love
get my fill.
Also listening to y'all's podcast interviews, or not the interviews, I guess, but
the star.
Yeah.
Do we have to? Is it like a shout out every week? Do we have to say, "Hey, Charli"?
Yeah. Are you listening? You better be listening.
Go eat something green and
walk around
and do a little jog. But thanks for everyone for your prayers and thoughts and all of that. I know our team appreciates it.
Yeah,
Charli's fan.
And I'll be back.
Yes,
I'll be back.
Okay, so back to the script. Okay, do us a favor. This feels so lame after that conversation. But please leave us a rating and review.
Like and subscribe, y'all.
You can reach us through social media at Empowering Pumps and using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast, or via email that I now have the reins to at podcast@empoweringpumps.com.
And she'll be back every Monday. I'm going to take a break. So until then, be empowering.
Yay.
We did it. Music. That's her thing. It's been weird in Chicago, right? Sirens! Wish Charlie face.
Yes.